Welcome back to another video, guys. In this one I thought I'd show you the builds that I've made in the past decade now that it's 2020. So this is actually the first house that I ever made in game. It's more of a greenhouse than a real house. You can see some of the shaders look weird in this picture. The tree leaves are quite a lot brighter, so it's not a very good house basically. This is a picture of a castle that I made in early 2012. Not a very good picture. And this is probably the first full ship that I ever made. Again, the picture's not very good. I'm not sure why I used these visual settings. But to get in game, this is the second ship that I've ever made. It doesn't actually have a hull that goes beyond the waterline. It just floats perfectly on the waterline, as you can see there. I actually have the original video for this ship still on the channel. This is the second ship, so it's a little bit of an upgrade from that ship. You can see the sails are a little bit better, and for the first time I'm using some TNT cannons. So back in 2012 I always put TNT cannons onto my ships. This is another one that I made, quite a simple one there. I think this is quite a nice one. Again, I've got a video for this ship still on the channel. So this one actually looks more like a ship of the line, whereas those don't really look very much like real ships. And this one actually had some nice TNT cannons. And this is like a frigate version of this ship. So pretty similar. And this is a pirate galleon. Again, I made it in 2012. I think this one looks quite nice. And another pirate galleon, except this one's a little bit bigger and it actually has a realistic, or a slightly realistic curve to it. And then the Santa's Trinidad. It's quite an ugly ship, to be honest. I made it around the cannons rather than making a nice looking ship and then making the cannons. So the TNT cannons still work. They don't fire as far as they used to due to updates to the game, but you can see it still fires fairly far. And then an ironclad here. So you can see I'm starting to make the hull a little bit better. The sails are a little bit better as well. You can see I'm using some smoke effects here with some web. This one actually had some fairly interesting cannons. This is like an oversized frigate. I don't think this one looks particularly nice. Let's see if I can shoot the cannons. This probably won't fire very far. No. You can see they've changed the mechanics of TNT in game since 2012. So now some of these cannons don't fire very far. And then we've got a fancy second-rate ship of the line again. These cannons probably won't fire very far as well. They used to fire quite far. It's a shame that this happens now. And then we've got an American frigate based on the USS Constitution. So I made this Indian mansion, this is what I called it, back in 2012. It's quite a simple building. No idea why I made the Union Jack so big. It's not a very serious build, I guess. But there it is. I also made this Japanese temple. This one looks a little bit nicer, although it is quite simple. Back then I usually made buildings very simple. So not only so it's easier to build them, but so that you can perfect things like see how these fences perfectly connect with the roof, for example, and all of the wooden beams align nicely. So quite a simple build. Here's a castle that I made in 2012 as well. I included some of the ships that I made back then in this scene as well. So it looks quite nice. It's supposed to be an English castle besieged by this French navy and army. So you can see the French camp over there. Again, I don't know why the flags are so big. They don't look very organic. And I included some catapults, TNT catapults. So this is like an old style TNT cannon where this propellant would push that propellant forward and then obviously fire the... So it goes way too far, but yeah, not a very good castle by any means, but yeah, I sort of like how the ships look. There seem to be too many ships for this area though. But yeah, on to the next build. Okay, so in 2013 I started to improve the design of the hulls on these ships. So you've got a Viking longboat here. I think this looks quite nice. It still looks quite good. For some reason the sails are floating, but yeah, not a bad ship there. We've got the Vasa, Swedish Vasa. Again, the hull is quite nicely made, pretty much perfectly made. It's not proportioned correctly. It's a little bit too wide, and it sort of lacks a few details. But for the time when I made it, it was quite a good improvement. Trireme here. Again, lacks a few details, but overall it's quite good. Carrick, I think this one was quite ugly to be honest. But again, probably an improvement over some of the ships that I made. And the Black Pearl, I think I made this in 2013. I think this is quite a good one. The only thing I don't like about it now, or the main thing I don't like about it, is the glass rigging. I think I used Ovo's rustic texture pack back then, and the glass looks more like rope in that texture pack, but in default, as you can see here, it looks like the rigging is made out of ice, which obviously isn't very good. But yeah, I think this is one of my favourite ships that I've made. I'll quickly show you the arena I made in 2013 as well. So this is the arena. I actually made this with a friend. Again, it's quite simple, but I didn't actually make too many buildings in this time period. Mainly focused on ships, but yeah, it's supposed to be a Roman arena. Quite a small one. Well, I think it looks quite nice for the size. So on to 2014, I started to make these medieval ships. I used quite an odd colour scheme for these ships. I don't know why I didn't use a more realistic colour scheme. I think again I was using Ovo's rustic texture pack, which makes these ships look a little bit better. They don't look too bad with these textures, but they don't exactly look realistic. They look a little bit more cartoony. So some more longboats. These are probably a little bit better than the one over there. Some galleys as well. And these ships are actually the most popular thing that I've made. On Planet Minecraft, where I've uploaded these ships, they've actually got more downloads than anything else. And I think it's because not many people actually make real medieval ships. When they make a so-called medieval ship, what they'll do, they'll make a frigate or something that looks like a frigate, and then they'll just classify it as medieval. Whereas these ships are legitimately medieval. So in 2014 as well, I also made this fantasy hot air balloon, which again is quite a popular build. It has quite a few downloads online. I quite like how it looks. So I also made this Floyd. I think I made this in 2014. I'll have to check after the video. I didn't actually finish this ship. You can see it lacks a few details. It's quite plain. Also made this brig. Again, I didn't really finish this. I'm not sure why. It looks good enough to me. And this sloop. And then I made this yacht, which I did actually finish. You can see the gulf in quality here. This one's actually got some colour to it, and the sails look more refined. And then some further ships. I actually really like this one. So we've got some more Dutch ships here. So quite good for the size. Another Floyd, I did actually finish this one. This one looks really good for its size, I think. Again, I don't really like the glass rigging. I was using a different texture pack back then. Galleon here, I don't really like this one. But then I made this Tartan. I think I actually made this in 2015. Again, I'll have to check after the video, but I really like the design of this boat. It's a little bit oversized. In reality, it would be a lot smaller compared to a galleon, but making the ship a little bit bigger than it is in reality is quite advantageous if you want to make a good looking ship. And then I made a Shaderpack. Made some further upgrades to this, including alternating the sails. But I quite like this red colour scheme. It's not particularly realistic, but yeah, it looks quite nice. And then I also made this race boat galleon, and I don't think this one looks particularly good. The sails look a little bit flat, and the rigging doesn't look as nice as it could do. During 2015 as well, I made these siege engines. So we've got a battering ram, some siege towers, a mangonel, a catapult, some ballista. I really like how these turned out. Obviously oversized again, but that's sort of necessary. And then some trebuchets here, in various stages of the launching process. And I also made this Viking longboat airship. So it's quite similar to the hot air balloon. You can see I'm using the same sort of design, but with a different colour scheme. Yeah, I quite like these two builds. Okay, so in mid 2015 I started to make some more Dutch ships. This is a ship of the line based on the 7 provinces. It's not an exact reconstruction. Some of the sails look different, obviously, but I think this is probably one of the best ships that I've made, or certainly one of the best ships that I've made. It's the most popular that I've uploaded online, and I can see why. It's basically just, you know, one of the better ships that I've made, and it's a big one with a lot of cannons, so yeah, I can see why that's popular. And quite a similar ship, another Floyd, and a yacht. The only thing I don't like about this yacht is that it's probably too oversized. When you compare it to the ship of the line, it should be a lot smaller, and it's not well, it is significantly smaller, but it isn't small enough relative to the ship of the line, but it does look nice. On to 2016, I started to make the Santa Maria. So it's a Spanish carrack. It's quite an improvement over the medieval carrack that I made back there. It is a little bit of a later model. So you can see I've updated the rigging a few years ago so that it doesn't have any glass, which I think improves it quite a lot. From a distance it sort of looks like a real ship, whereas the other ones you can clearly see that it's not. There has been a copying error of the ship, but I think it's fine from this side, so perhaps not actually. I think I need to recopy this, but you can see that this is a caravel, similar to the carrack. And in 2017 I finished making ships with the Chinese junk, as you can see here. I would say this is the best ship that I've made. Not just because it's the final ship, but it pretty much does everything right. The rigging is good, the sails are good, the colour scheme is good, the curvature is nice. It's not particularly realistic, and it's not the biggest ship, but block for block, it is the best ship that I've made. So onto some buildings. So after I finished the Chinese junk, I thought that I should make some houses for a change. Obviously at that stage I hadn't made many houses, hadn't made any good houses, so I made this fancy English style house, which I think is very nice actually, especially with that tree. You managed to add a lot of detail to this house. This one was fairly popular, and I also made this windmill house, which is quite similar in design. It has a little bit more detail to it. I wouldn't necessarily say it's better, although it is a little bit bigger. And I also made this return into ships slightly. I made this fancy airship. This is totally my own design, or maybe not totally, but almost entirely my own design. So it's got a Shaderpack-like hull, except it's got this elongated beakhead and cabin. The sails are quite good, the balloon is well shaped. So it's quite close to perfect, at least I would say so. Then in 2017 I also made this fancy tower. Again, added a tree next to it, but this one also has a wyvern. Someone actually corrected me at the time, I called it a dragon, and due to the fact that it's only got 4 limbs, it's technically a wyvern. But yeah, I think that looks quite nice, especially with the tower. It wasn't a particularly popular project, but I think the wyvern looks really nice. It's quite symmetric. So after that I decided to make a full-size dragon with 6 limbs. So this was a bit of a step up, and this is actually one of my most popular projects. When I say popular, I mean it's received more downloads than most of my other projects. So it's made on this domed church. It's Italian style church. And the dragon is by no means perfect, but I think it looks really nice, especially from certain angles like this one. And if you turn it to nighttime, you can see the eyes glow, which looks interesting. So yeah, quite a nice project there. After that, turn it back today. After the dragon, I made this oversized squid, the kraken. So I used an existing ship and just tilted it with World Edit. No reason to make yet another ship, I felt. So this is the squid's mouth. So I didn't choose an ordinary sort of reddish pink colour scheme for the squid, as you can see over here. It's a brown colour scheme, which I think looks a lot better. So another build for 2017, I think it was 2017, again I'll have to check after the video, is this plaza. So this is quite a symmetric build. It's symmetrical in 4 ways, which I don't really like, but it does make making something of this size a lot easier. So I also made it with this balloon. The thing I like about this build is the garden area. I quite like how the hedges and the trees pack here. I like how they fit into the build, and the main structure is quite nice. It's very brightly coloured. So quite a nice build. As I was making the final build for this video, I decided to make a small tower to finish whilst I was making the the cathedral, which has taken me many months to make. So I made this tower as well as this oversized ammonite, which I call a realistic ghast. I think the shell looks very nice. You can see it's not actually, I haven't actually added any distinct texture. I've just pressed these blocks inwards to make it look like a spiral, and I think that looks really nice. So this is the final build that I made. You can see some of the trees that I used for this build. So like I said, this took me quite a few months to make. It's based on, like I said in the video, it's dedicated video. It's based on Notre Dame and Chartres Cathedral. And in this version it includes a limbless dragon or a worm. Just change the angle of the sun. You can see the front of the cathedral. So I made the cathedral really bright. In real life, these towers wouldn't be this colour. They'd be sort of a dark grey colour. So you can see the dragon head here. A lot of detail, a lot of time was put into this. See, it actually includes a tongue. For some reason, a lot of people, they don't include a long tongue for a dragon, even though it's supposed to be snake-like. Obviously, snakes have long tongues, so I added one there. So I'd say this is not only my final build, but my best build. And as this is the final build, I'll actually show you the interior. Again, I've done this in its own dedicated video, but I think it's important to show you how far I've come from building that cobbled greenhouse you can see from 2010 at the start of the video. And I'll quickly show you. I'll show you it at night time. So that's my final build. As I've said in the comment section, I don't think I'll make another build because these sort of things take so long to make. I'd prefer to use my time on something else. I feel like I've done everything now that I want to make in game. I'm not necessarily not going to make any more videos. I didn't expect to make this one, but I thought as the shipbuilding evolution video is popular, I thought I'd make this one, which included not only the ships but the actual houses and the things like the cathedral here that I've done. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and as usual, thanks for watching.